Okay, I'm going to pause the recording. Okay, guys, welcome back everyone to our Facebook Live series leading up to our webinar, Special Education in New Jersey. We're going to come to you live in a very special webinar that we're putting together for you on Thursday, November 4th at 6:30. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But this is the third of our series of Facebook Lives so that we can kind of get you prepped for that, answer some of your questions, and just let you know, because this is such a huge area. So we know that we can't cover everything in one webinar. So we're doing this for you to kind of give you some information ahead of time. So without further ado, I want to introduce my co-hosts for tonight's Facebook Live and for the webinar. I will start off with Mr. Nakoven Norman. He is the owner of Puzzles Education Services, LLC. Mr. Norman, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, hello again, everyone. My name is Nakoven Norman. I am a school psychologist and educator, as well as I am the coordinating director for Puzzles Education Services, LLC. We are a kind of a boutique education consulting company that works with parents, school districts, community members to make public school a special place for all children. For the puzzle pieces. Okay, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. I don't mean to cut you off.
I won't go into the tagline. No, that's okay. I won't go into the tagline because I think I'll mess it up anyway.
It's okay. And we also have the wonderful Kelly Thomas, founder of Girls Like You. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Kelly?
Yes, my name is Kelly Thomas, and I am a founder of Girls Like You, Inc., which is an array of services, but for the sake of tonight's conversation, I am a juvenile advocate. So I do advocate for young ladies that, are in detention or at risk for detention. And I also do ABA therapy with children on the autism spectrum. So again, that aligns with our conversation tonight.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so tonight, last time we Nakoven kind of honed in on what special education means. And I know that's a huge umbrella, but we tried to break some of that down for all of you out there. And tonight, because of Kelly's role in what she does and just her involvement personally with the education system, she's actually going to talk a little bit tonight about the IEP process. So feel free to comment. I'm going to try to watch your comments as they come through. If you have any questions, you can certainly reach out on our social media. And if you can only reach out through mine, I could certainly ask for everyone's social media handles before this webinar or this Facebook Live is done. So we make sure that you have a way to reach out to everyone. So without any more delay, Kelly, can you tell us what exactly is an IEP? Can you kind of explain to the folks what that is?
Yes, so I'm going to actually read what an IEP is directly from our New Jersey State website. It is called NJ Prize, which stands for Parental Rights in Special Education. So I'll read directly from this site. An IEP is a written plan that describes in detail your child's special education program. The IEP should describe how your child currently performs and your child's specific instructional needs. The IEP must also include detailed and measurable annual goals and short-term objectives and benchmarks. So, and that's, the basic definition of an IEP. There are, like it says in the definition, it's an individual plan. So a child is going to not receive the same services as maybe your family member's child or your neighbor's child. So that's very important for parents to understand. I know sometimes parents say, well, my child isn't getting that service or this service like my, neighbors, but it is tailored to your individual child. Another important part about the IEP is that it is a legal document. So parents need to, really take that into consideration when there are meetings and plans surrounding your child.
So what that means is that it can be upheld, a court is going to look to that to make sure a school is following whatever is in that IEP, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. So for parents has concerns, I mean, of course, you want to go through the proper channels, but if you need to reach out to an attorney like Ms. Dean, you have your IEP. That is a legal document that you can use to prove your case.
Okay, okay.
So I also just wanted to add that the IEP, the document, just 3 key topics that it addresses is the child's special education plan that includes their goals for 1 year, services needed to help the child reach those goals, and a strategy to evaluate the student's success and progress. So those are the key things that the IEP should include for your child.
Okay, so goals, services, and strategy.
Yes.
Okay, and can I ask a question? Like, what role does the parent and what role does the teacher, and maybe like, what are the roles? I mean, we can identify the parent and the teacher and maybe the principal and school administrators, but what role especially does the parent play in developing this IEP?
And I am going to ask Nicole to jump in with this as well from your area. But the parent, the parent is a part of the team. They're part of the IEP team that is going to create that plan. So the parent's role is very, very important. I know some parents feel like, it's out of their control, but they need to be present and they can make decisions as far as that plan. And Nicole, you can chime in.
So, and that role is codified both in federal and state statute, that the parent is supposed to be a member. They are a member of the IEP team, and they are in any type of decisions or any plan that's generated. It needs to be generated with their inclusion. It's in fact, so in all accounts, a lot of time what districts would do is come up with a draft of an IEP, which is helpful because it helps move the median along. But it's not just to dictate to you as the parent that this is what your child's going to get. It is mainly so it can be part of the discussion, so you can all see how that child's doing. That's the present levels and functional performance. And what do we need to include and we would need to consider when creating a program? And again, you are part of that process in creating a program. You are a crucial member. And then actually, when a child turns 14, they also become a member of that IEP team. Like an invitation is sent out to you, the invitation is also sent out to that student individually. So the parent role is very crucial. And they are a member, they are an ad hoc member, along with the special education teacher and the general education teacher with knowledge of curriculum and that particular case manager. So parents, you have you have responsibility in that. So your role is very important.
I think just to jump in, I find it really, I love the fact, because I'm all about advocacy, and I even teach my own kids to be their own advocates, because as adults, we can't always be in the room. So the fact that when a child turns 14 and they can begin to advocate for themselves, I think is really empowering. And I just hope that parents who learn this, either through our webinar and through the resources that we're teaching them are out there, that they encourage their students, their children to participate in this process.
Definitely.
I would say also good case managers, good psychologists, social workers, and learning consultants. Those are the ones who actually serve as case managers for these IEP processes. They are part of that process in helping children understand that, hey, part of advocacy is self-advocacy, and you need to be a part of any decision making that concerns you or that particular student. So good school districts really do a good job in making sure that students understand that they have a role in deciding their future. It's their future. Because not only we talk about the programming especially when they get towards that age, 14 to 18 or 14 to 21 rather. Not only we talk about programming for it in the schools, we also talk about things after school, post-secondary, and try to come up with plans of actions to help them build forth in their life, so it's very important. It's very necessary. I'm gonna defer.
Absolutely,
No,
absolutely.
and that's good it's good information. I think the fact that children can be a part of it at 14, that reality parents don't know. So, and the child doesn't know, of course. So it's very important that parents know, just the key things about an IEP. I think it's a scary, IEP is scary, people want to run from it, but it is really about that child, and parents also can invite other people to the meeting if they want to invite their doctor, or they can invite it's not them by themselves. It is who they feel would be a help in creating this plan for their child.
Yeah, that I think we can't say that enough. I think that's so important. I think you just dropped some really important gems in that. So all these people participate in developing the IEP then, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the IEP team, so all right, every state, okay, federal, well, sorry. The IEP, and let's just focus on New Jersey because it can kind of get convoluted when you go to other states. But in New Jersey, the IEP team consists of the parent, and in cases of 14 and older student,
Mhm.
the special education teacher, and a general education teacher. The special education teacher is usually the one that's familiar with the student and also the one that's familiar as far as what's going on in the program. The general education teacher is that person who's more of an expert in the curriculum.
Mhm.
And then the case manager. Now, there are some ad hoc members, such as if a child is receiving speech services, the speech therapist should be there. If a child is receiving OT or PT service, the occupational therapist or physical therapist should be there. But these are the core. But the core are the four: the case manager, the parent, the special education teacher, and the general education teacher. And those because they are the ones who makes this determination and makes and decides the program for that particular student. Now, once they decide that program, the district, like you can't have the principal or the director of special services says, no, that's not going to go. No, their decision is sacrosanct. These are the ones that make the recommendations. Those are the ones that the state says that's under your charge, and they do it. So
that's why it's important for parents and that child, if they're over 14, to participate in that process, because kind of circling back to what Kelly said, that IEP is a legal document, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna then follow that document. So then my next question is, what's the difference, or maybe they're the same thing, between what we just described and the child study team? Can you talk about that a little bit, Kelly?
Well, the child study team is, and Nicole, correct me if I'm wrong, because I always refer to the child study team as that group of people that did the evaluation. And then I saw IEP team. I'm assuming that it is the same. From what I understood, there is a team that like someone puts in the referral, and then there's a team that creates that plan, and then the child study team does the evaluations.
correct. So the process usually happens the way like this. There's a referral that's being made. Now that referral can be made from almost any body or any organization or facet. Like in schools, in the schools itself, they're usually an intervention and referral team that makes referrals, or sometimes that referral can come from a parent or a teacher or principal, or maybe a member or some related service person, like a speech therapist, a psychologist, or what have you. So they make a referral to the child study team. The child study team are 3 members, and in case of speech, 4 members. It consists of the school psychologist, like myself. Yay, school psychologist. The social worker.
School psychologist, that's all good.
Yes, the school social worker, and a learning disability teacher consultant. Those 3 members are the child study team. In the case of an issue that may concern speech and language, then you have the speech and language pathologist. So those are the 4 members. That's the child study team. So when the child study team convenes, they make a decision on whether or not that this to do evaluation, and it's predicated on 2 questions. Number 1 is, does this child have a disability? And if they in fact have a disability or are suspected to have a disability, do they need special education and related services? Or could they need special education related services? So of course, if the answer to both of those questions is yes, then that child study team makes a determination to go ahead and assess that particular student and start the process of completing the evaluation and making a determination of whether or not the student actually qualifies for special education and related services. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's the takeaway for people, that the 2 questions is, does your child have a disability? And do they need special education?
Right. Okay.
So,
all right. That's pretty clear.
Right.
Yeah. And the services, just to add on to the services, those again are individual. They're put in the plan for your child, and it could be speech, it could be physical therapy, or it could be counseling, or it is individual to your child. So I work with students that sometimes they just have speech, sometimes they have speech OT. I've even had children who had OT and physical therapy, and I know that's 3 different services that they're getting pulled out of class for, to have those services during the week. You have children that have special accommodations for transportation. So it really is. And again, I think that we're going to beat this over the head, that parents have to be involved. Because you need to know what services are supposed to be given to your child. Absolutely. What services that they qualify for. One of the other services is behavioral services, which is what I do. Behavioral services are in the plan. Now the parent is at liberty and should know where those behavioral services are coming from. Is it coming straight from the school district, or is it an outside agency? Okay. And there is because and Nicole, you can also chime in on this, because this is just my experience being working in different districts and kind of moving around. The behavioral services that come from the school, the parents are able to communicate with the people that provide those services. If it's an outside agency, the parents may not even know who that outside agency is, because the school district hired them. So it's another reason why the parent needs to be fully involved, so they can get that information and be able to communicate with people like myself who come into the classroom under my employer, but who was hired by the school district. Got it. So the parent may not know exactly who is in the classroom working with their child. Right. Now, if we could put a pin in that for a second, because we have some interaction we're getting from some of our viewers, and one of the questions that came up is about dyslexia. And it's really, the question is, can you or have you diagnosed dyslexia? But whose responsibility is it to do that? I mean, we're talking about the parent getting involved. So obviously, if a child is learning to read at home, a parent can identify if there are some problems with that. But then how does that actually get diagnosed? And then what is the district's responsibility? So this may be a good time to kind of walk us through with one particular issue, how that relates to what we're talking about here.
Well, it's very interesting, because in the state of New Jersey, at one time, we didn't even recognize dyslexia, believe it or not. It's kind of funny at this time, but the rationale is it's a learning disability. It's a learning disability. So what we do is diagnose, or we diagnose, or we uncover the learning disability.
So
but again, it does
find who we is, just so we can answer the viewer's question.
The district, I'm sorry, the school district, the child study team. So the onus is still on the school district to determine whether or not a child has dyslexia or not, which is kind of a shame, because in other states they have been doing that. It's just New Jersey kind of got on the ball with that. I want to say 2016, 2015. Sorry, I don't got that right on you, but it is actually still the district and the child study team can determine whether or not if a child is in fact have dyslexia. And again, that's one of those things where it's a disability. So once it's a disability, then determination is, does that child need special education and related services? And what that falls under usually is a learning disability, a specific learning disability in the areas of reading. So it is still the district, and that actually came about because of a lawsuit. So it is the district's responsibility.
Okay. Okay. And I'm sorry, you could pick up on what you were saying before. I just wanted to make sure I was able to address that since that was a concern.
Well, also, larger districts usually have more resources than smaller districts. That's just anything bigger always have, just have more to pull from. They have more dollars to spend. If the team, if an IEP team, if the individual education plan team determined that a child needs a service, regardless of the capabilities of the school district, they have to provide it. Sometimes those personnels are there, sometimes they're not. But it's usually, because I know I provide services to school districts as well. The way those people, they still function as if they are a member of that school district, even though it's not a direct relationship, like they're not their employee, but they're functioning as a representative of the school district. So there still should be some communication and interaction with them, interaction with parents as far as helping their child. There has been many cases when contracting for a behaviorist or contracting for psychological services, that those personnel still have to, they engage parents because they need to know. That's one of those conversations. Like, as a psychologist, I don't know what's happening with that child just by reading on paper. I really got to see the full picture of that, and that full picture comes with the interaction with the parent and anyone else who's in this child's life. Sometimes the coach, sometimes the teacher, and as well. So that good providers will always facilitate those conversations. Because I know, as and Kelly, you probably speak more on it, as a behaviorist, especially providing ABA, there's sometimes a home component where someone is actually going to home, like for students who have autism, and doing discrete trials for that particular child to help them learn those behaviors that we all take for granted. So parents must get involved, but good providers and good providers will also foster that. They will foster a communication and a relationship to help work with that child. The fact of the matter is, they need them, so it's kind of impossible to actually do it without them.
Yeah, and I know, Kelly, you and I talked about this before in terms of your role in the schools and how, I'll let you speak to that in terms of what you do with students and what things that you see maybe that parents don't necessarily see, which is kind of why we're even doing this webinar.
Well, I'll just say this. I've worked for 2 different agencies to provide behavioral services. I started out doing home cases, which, I don't mind doing home cases or school cases. Neither one is better than the other. The problem is, like Nicole said, you need the full picture sometimes in order to provide the best services. So I'll just say, in one agency that I worked for, we were not able to communicate with parents. It was basically, if you happen to see the parent, if you're there at drop off, or you're, taking a child to the parent at pickup, you basically can say, hey, they had a good day, and you couldn't go any further than that. So, of course, I am the services I provide in my nonprofit are basically, it's very foundational. I want to know before a session how you're feeling. Did you eat? How much sleep did you get last night? Before I could proceed with whatever I plan to do in that session. And I would love to do that with the children I work with as well. But that conversation would need to be had with the parent. Sometimes these kids can't express that to me. So if a parent says, hey, he didn't sleep well last night, then I can kind of be easy on him today, if he's a little cranky. That's the only downfall to my position, is that I can't always get that information.
So what would you suggest parents do, knowing that even if they know that you're there, but they can't necessarily communicate with you? How do you suggest that they bridge that gap? So that, do they go to the teacher and say, well, what did the behavior therapist recommend? Or can I speak directly? Because we want to make sure parents are fully informed, and if they can have access to you, how do they do that?
Definitely. So I would say definitely speak to the teacher, but I would go further and go back to that IEP, you know,
Right.
and see what's in the IEP. I mean, because that information should be there. What
So can I speak?
Yes.
Kelly, can I talk to that for a minute? So
Yes.
here it is. So just because an IEP happened, like, okay, so the process of all IEPs is after the initial IEP, okay, so a child is referred. 90 days, within 90 days, they have to have a decision, and that decision, if that kid is eligible, have to have an IEP within that 90 days. After that IEP is generated, you can always go back. A parent can always request meetings within that within the year to say, you know what, I need another IEP meeting. And every time you make a request, that meeting has to take place within 20 days.
20 days.
Once you put your request into writing, it has to be 20 days within the receipt of that letter.
Please take notes, parents. Please take notes. That's important to know.
Definitely.
So, and then on top of that, you know, some things are crucial. So one of the things that's crucial is that in the IP, everything is documented, even to the point of communication and how it's being communicated to you. So there's nothing wrong with you saying, as a parent, part of the communication plan is I need to have communication from everyone who's servicing my child.
Yeah.
And I want that documented in the IEP, that to communicate with me on this particular schedule, whether that is quarterly or whether that is bi-weekly or weekly. You can ask for those things and have that documented in the IEP. And then also, as a parent, you have the right to request. For example, I know if it was one of my little Normans and my little child, and I know if Kelly's servicing them, I want to say, okay, well, I need to talk to Kelly directly. So I'm requesting an IEP meeting. I know you have to do it within 20 days. We're going to review the IEP, but in that IEP meeting, I want present Kelly.
Yes.
And document that, because there's a letter that goes out to document that request, and you can send a letter back saying, these are people that I want to be included in that meeting. And the district will make accommodations for that to happen.
Okay.
So there's many ways that you can go about it. It's not there should never be a case where somebody's servicing your child and you have you're not allowed to interact with them or talk to them at all. And if necessary, if need be, you as the parent can say, I want to talk to this person in writing. One thing about putting things in writing, once pen hits the paper,
It's memorialized. And that's good, because once you know better, you do better. And that's what we want parents to know, what they should be doing, what they are capable of doing, what the IEP allows. So I think that's awesome. Kelly, did you want to kind of wrap up and say anything about that?
Yes. Well, first I want to say the parent can speak to whoever they want to. And I'm saying that as a parent, because nobody's going to stop me from speaking to whoever I want. Unfortunately, and this is not in every case, but that behaviorist, that ABA therapist cannot. So that's why the parent has to be very, I hate to use the word aggressive, but sometimes you do. You have to be aggressive about getting the information you need and making sure, because on the other end, as a parent, you might have your child come home and be very unhappy, uncomfortable, every day. And you need to find out why.
So the request has to come from the parent.
Yes. Yes. And I'm saying that legally and, through the district, and also just as a parent, just get in there and find out the information you need, because, districts and agencies and all that, they have their policies. And, I always say, yeah, you can have your policies, but I have my policy as a parent, for my child. So I'm an advocate because of that, because I know several parents right now with the kids that I work with have no clue what's going on with their kids at all. And knowing that your child can participate in that meeting at 14, I have 16, 17-year-old kids that have never attended a meeting, you know, because the parent didn't know that that was possible. So this is not to beat up on the districts or beat up on the agency. This is nothing like that. It's what everyone's rights are.
Absolutely.
So that we can have a great outcome for these kids when they transition out of school. You know, there's a better outcome for them.
Absolutely. And that, I mean, I think we could drop the mic on that, because I think that's exactly why we're doing what we do. I mean, you guys are such a wealth of information, but parents need to have the information that you have in order to really be an advocate for their children and teach their children, especially how to advocate for themselves. Because once you get beyond that age of 14, like I said, parents are not going to be as hands-on. The children don't want the parents to be as hands-on. And kids need to learn that independence, because that disability doesn't mean that they cannot advocate for themselves.
Definitely. Yes.
So, wow. Well, I thank you. Let me check the comments, see if anyone has any questions. I think we covered the questions that we had. I want to thank you guys. I mean, I know I can't wait till we have this webinar where we kind of lay this out even more for people. But I thank you for spending your time with us tonight, Nikovin and Kelly. I think you guys are awesome. I think you guys are brilliant. And I hope our viewers got something from this tonight. I just want to remind everyone that we are going to be going live one more time before the webinar on October 28th at 7 p.m. We're going to go back to a Thursday. So we hope to see you then. If you need to reach out to us, Nikovin, can you tell people how to get in touch with you?
Sure, there's many ways you can do it. You can call me. My number is 856-671-1014. You can also email me at puzzlesllc@gmail.com. And you can also go on my website, www.puzzle-es, that's for education services.com.
Okay, say that one more time. I'm putting that in the chat. What's your website?
puzzles-es.com.
Got it. Okay. And then Kelly, how can people get in touch with you?
So the best way is by email. And my email is girlslikeyou@yahoo.com.
Got it. Okay, so guys, check the chat for that. You can always reach me, and I'll put my my website in the chat, www.lakeishadeanlaw.com. Doesn't get any easier than that. But again, we will see you all again on the 28th. That's a Thursday. We'll be live again. We're going to focus next time on when is the right time to involve someone like me. When do you get when do you consult with an attorney? What would you need to do that for, and what are the steps? So we look forward to talking to you about that soon. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.